from the VON Newsline. This is the VON Major Newscast.
Good evening, I am Jarvis Bonner with your VON Major News package for today, Wednesday, 23rd January 2019. In our lead stories nationally, Von Radio's manager honored by Hearts and Hands Nevis Inc. for dedicated service to the island, and Omax Bai murder trial over death of businessman begins. 4 dead ahead of mass Venezuela protests internationally. Thailand announces date for first general election since 2014 coup. And in sports, no hope for finding missing Cardiff City player Emiliano Salah. We'll have the details for these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, VON.
Welcome back and now on to the national news in detail. On Sunday 20th January, manager of Von Radio Mr. Everett Weber Herbert was honored by Hearts and Hands for Nevis Inc. The event was held at the LaGuardia Airport Marriott, New York. He was honored for his contribution he has made and continues to make to the island of Nevis.
As a journalist and one who has the instrument of influence, I commend you for what you do by getting out not only your views and your opinions, but giving a medium for all the people in Nevis and St. Kitts to express their views and to hear those of others. I commend you and congratulate you.
Here is the presentation of the award to Mr. Herbert.
Presented to Everett Weber Herbert in recognition of your exemplary service to the people of Nevis in broadcasting with distinction and excellence. Ernestine Carson, President, January 20th, 2019.
This honor comes as part of the organization's 20th anniversary celebration. The other 2 honorees from Nevis were Her Honor Miss Yasmin Clark and Mr. El Comido Willett MBE. The motto of the organization is to positively impact the lives of Nevisians and friends through service with integrity and intelligence. The trial of McKnight resident Omax Bai, who is accused for the alleged 2017 murder of young businessman Gregory Mills, entered its second day on Tuesday, 22nd January. The case is being heard at the Sir Lee Llewellyn Moore Judicial and Legal Services Complex in Basseterre. Throughout the duration of the trial, which is expected to last for 4 days, the prosecution is expected to call 6 witnesses to testify against the accused. The high-profile case has intense security precautions in place, with a section of Independence Square in front of the courthouse cordoned off and is off-limits to pedestrian traffic and assembly of persons. Armed police officers are also posted in the area. Mills, who was the owner of Greg's Pizza, became the Federation's 10th murder victim in 2017 when he was gunned down on May 9th. The incident occurred in the vicinity of Gillard Meadows in the St. Peter's area of St. Kitts, while Mills was on his way home. Following the Federation's first recorded homicide for 2019, heavyweight panelists from Von Radio's Let's Talk That Get Results program have voiced their concern and said crime affects us all as a whole. Nevis recorded its first homicide on January 22nd, when 28-year-old Jelani Liber died from a gunshot wound he sustained on January 1st, 2019. 22-year-old Keon Moore, who was also with Libert at the time, was shot in the stomach and head. On Tuesday evening, heavyweight panelist the Honorable Spencer Brand urged those engaged in criminality to cease.
I believe that as we reflect, we want to say to all those persons who may be engaging in these kind of activities to cease and desist. I believe that it only causes severe harm on our communities, it only causes severe harm on our families, structure, and the good name and the reputation of our beautiful, peaceful and tranquil island.
Heavyweight panelist Mr. Theodore Hobson QC said in the past, Nevis has had the first recorded homicide in the Federation.
Every January, the beginning of the year, I keep hoping that we wouldn't have any murders for the year. But very quickly, that kind of hope vanishes because here we are with our first one. And this is not the first time that Nevis has recorded the first in the Federation. And so it's an unfortunate situation. I don't know the answer. I mean, the government has tried very, very hard. They have brought in help, increased salaries for police officers. They have done everything they could, but yet we have these youngsters who are hell-bent on violence and taking one another's lives. I'm hoping for the day when some sort of revival, I don't know where it is going to come from. All of us are black people in this country. We grew up together. Why is it that we have this kind of hatred that you could just wipe out somebody without even blinking?
Heavyweight panelist Mr. Theodore Hobson QC. The development of youth organization standards and guidelines by the Department of Youth Empowerment is expected to deepen its partnership with youth groups across the Federation. Information from the department indicates the new guidelines will bring greater harmony to the consistency and quality of programming offered in support of youth development across various sectors. It says the youth organization standards and guidelines system will help groups assess their own statutes and inform the strategic development agenda of the organization as well as that of the government. It facilitates the identification of strengths and gaps among youth organizations, which in turn allows targeted resource allocation to support and empower groups to carry out their respective mandates. Only groups registered with the Department of Youth Empowerment will benefit from the initiative. The capacity development system will be carried out in 4 phases: registration, development, intervention, and assessment, review and recognition. The new initiative is in keeping with the pledge by Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Youth, the Honorable Sean Richards, that the department will help communities with social intervention programming that involve and benefit the youth. A St. Lucian national has been appointed to act as a High Court judge in Nevis. The chair of the Judicial and Legal Services Commission has appointed Master Ermin Moise to act as High Court Judge of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court for the period January 11th to February 12, 2019, assigned to St. Kitts and Nevis Circuit. The Judicial and Legal Services Commission has appointed the Honorable Justice Stanley John to act as High Court Judge, Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court for the periods January 23rd to 25th, 2019 and February 10th to March 2nd, 2019. Meantime, His Honor Ricky Burnett has also been appointed to act as Master, Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court for the period January 11th to the 12th February 2019 for the purpose of conducting the Master's sittings. A groundbreaking ceremony was held today, January 23rd, for the construction of the new Sandy Point Police Station. The station will be located at Bouncing Hill Sandy Point and is estimated to cost the government over $5 million. The station was relocated from Downing Street in April 2018 after officers repeatedly complained about the poor condition of the structure. The old station also housed the fire and rescue outpost for that area. The station has since been operating out of a rented property on Station Street that was formerly used as a guest house. Present at the ceremony were Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, Director of Public Works Department in St. Kitts, Mr. Cornwell Williams, and Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hilwai Brandy. And lastly, in our national news segment, As part of the Effective Schools SKN initiative, primary schools teaching staff were enlisted in a training session from the 14th to the 18th January, which focused on positive behavior management for use in the classroom. Effective Schools SKN was officially launched in May 2018 in the Federation. Since its inception, the committee organized monitoring activities focused on the implementation of the program. Coordinator and facilitator of the workshops, Ms. Amanda Edmead, stated that the sessions were aimed to provide participants the tools to respond more holistically to behavioral problems and to reinforce a reward system that most students respond to. Effective Schools SKN is part of the Child Friendly Schools initiative, which was first introduced locally in 2011 in collaboration with UNICEF. The framework promotes a student-centered approach to learning and is aimed at high-quality education for all. It promotes a keen focus on behavior management practices in classrooms while emphasizing parental and community involvement in children's learning. Funding for the workshop was provided by UNICEF. And that's our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at Von Radio and our Von Radio YouTube channel. Regional news comes up next.
Home. It means something different to everyone. It's a place you love. A place as unique as you are. A place where you can be yourselves. A place for life's big surprises, and not to mention the small ones. Moments to cherish, and moments that last a lifetime. It's a place for nurture, and a place where you can grow together. It's home. So whether you're building, purchasing, or renovating, the Bank of Nevis is here to open the door, giving you the confidence to dream and the help you need to get there with a mortgage loan from the Bank of Nevis. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Welcome back, and now on to the regional news. Out of Venezuela, 4 people have reportedly died in overnight clashes ahead of mass opposition protests. Hundreds of thousands were expected to join a march today in a bid to topple President Nicolas Maduro's government. The protests marked 61 years since the fall of the country's military dictatorship in 1958. National Assembly President Juan Guaido, who organized the march, called it a historic appointment. Overnight, a 16-year-old died as a result of a firearm injury, according to the Social Conflict Observatory, while police said 3 others died amid looting in Bolivar City. Images on social media also show a statue of former President Hugo Chavez set alight in the town of San Felix. Out of Antigua, Prime Minister Gaston Brown has issued a note of caution that despite the country's constant economic growth over the past 4 years, each person has a part to play in the continued development of the nation. Brown said, improving revenues to meet our development objectives requires effort by everyone. So, everyone, individuals and companies, must pay our education levy, social security, medical benefits, import duties, RRC, ABST, and corporate income taxes. He noted that any person or company who reneges on these payments, evades paying them, or uses corrupt means to deprive the Treasury of revenue is hurting every other person and company in the nation. In 2018, Antigua and Barbuda's economy was the fastest growing in the entire CARICOM area bar none. The country recorded economic growth of 5.3%. According to the UN Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, in the period 2014 to 2018, the average growth of Antigua and Barbuda's economy was 4.5% annually. Out of Trinidad, The United Kingdom has reportedly granted humanitarian protection to the alleged gay friend of Trinidad and Tobago's Chief Justice Ivor Archie, Dalian Johnson, allowing him to seek refuge in Britain. Johnson fled to Trinidad and Tobago in December 2017 following a shooting attempt on his life he claims was orchestrated by Archie. In its decision to grant Johnson asylum, the UK said there is a reasonable degree of likelihood that he would face a real risk of serious harm if he returned to Trinidad. Meanwhile, a leaked Swan Police affidavit made by a witness has now surfaced, which identifies individuals who are said to have organized the assassination attempt on Johnson. The leaked document, stamped, dated and notarized by Stephen Sohon, Commissioner of Affidavits, claims that the witness, Rhonda May Marshall, reportedly overheard people involved in the plot and arrangement of the assassination attempt in December 2017. Marshall claims that due to what she overheard, she felt a moral obligation to come forward to tell officials about what she saw with regard to the alleged assassination attempt. And lastly, in our regional news segment, the Venezuelan government has initiated the World Trade Organization's WTO dispute settlement against neighboring Colombia over restrictions Colombia has placed on liquid fuel from Venezuela. Venezuela claims the measures concerning liquid fuel distribution and licensing, surcharges on products, market access, and product quotation policies appear to be inconsistent with provisions under the WTO's General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade GATT 1994. The dispute settlement application filed by Venezuela on January 9, 2019 and published by the WTO on January 14th states that several measures that the Colombian government had put in place, and in fact some of the legislative and policy amendments highlighted by the Venezuelan diplomatic delegation to the WTO, date back as far as 2001. In particular, Colombia over the years has had imposed measures limiting the distribution of liquid fuels imported inter alia from Venezuela to municipalities and towns in departments situated in border areas between Colombia and Venezuela, such as La Guajira, Norte de Santander, Oruca, Vichada, and Guanía. And that's it for our regional news segment. International news and sports comes up next. Welcome back, and now on to the international news. Thailand will hold a general election to restore civilian rule on March 24th, the Election Commission said this morning, announcing a new date for the often postponed vote, which will be the first since a 2014 military coup. Jonathan Head reports.
Nearly 5 years of military rule and repeated delays, Thailand now has a confirmed date for an election which will restore some form of civilian government. A total of 100 political parties, many of them new, can now start campaigning. However, all eyes will be on Pheu Thai, the party whose government was ousted by the military and which has won every election held in the past 2 decades. 2 of its popular former leaders, Thaksin Shinawatra and his sister Yingluck, are in exile and banned from playing any part in the election.
A government-appointed human rights group in Zimbabwe has accused soldiers of using systematic torture in a crackdown on protests. The Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission strongly criticized authorities for using troops to quell demonstrations. Unrest broke out more than a week ago following a sharp rise in fuel prices. Reports have emerged of assaults allegedly carried out by the military in various parts of the capital, Harare. Soldiers in Harare were seen beating a large group of minibus drivers on Tuesday. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, the sister of Congress President Rahul Gandhi, has finally taken the plunge into politics just months ahead of the national election due by May. Often dubbed the Brahmastra or the mythical ultimate weapon of the Congress, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra will debut as the party's general secretary in charge of the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. More in this report.
India's Grand Old Party has ruled the country for nearly 50 years and it is synonymous with the Nehru-Gandhi family. Priyanka Gandhi had resisted previous attempts to get her into active politics, though she campaigned for her brother and mother, Sonia Gandhi. She has been a popular figure, drawing crowds during her campaign meetings. Her entry now, months before the crucial general elections, is expected to infuse fresh energy into the Congress campaign. Some view the move as the party's trump card to oust the Hindu nationalist Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
And lastly, in our international news segment, the number of male employees taking paternity leave in Korea rose 46.7% on year in 2018 amid a shift in social perception and workplace culture, the government said earlier today. A total of 17,662 male workers went on paternity leave last year, up 46.7% from 12,042 people in 2017, according to data from the Ministry of Employment and Labour. Celia Hatton reports.
South Korea has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. Concerns for the country's shrinking population has led the government to unleash a slew of parental benefits. New fathers, in particular, are being encouraged to take paternity leaves in order to relieve the burden on new mothers, making caring for an infant less daunting. That plan might be working. The Labor Ministry recorded a 46% jump in the number of men who took parental leave from large private companies last year, bringing the number above 17,600 fathers. That's up from just 500 men who took such leave a decade ago.
And that brings us to the end of our news segment. The latest in sports is next.
Most of us spend the better part of each weekday at the workplace. So why not make your office environment the kind of setting that helps you function at your personal best by outfitting it with top quality furniture, high-end photocopiers, printers, versatile office supplies, and the latest technology. The friendly and knowledgeable staff at the TDC Business Center are happy to provide you with personalized service to help you create an office space that's the total package. TDC Business Center, providing solutions that work.
Welcome back and now on to the sports. In football, there is no hope of finding missing Cardiff City footballer Emiliano Sala alive, a rescue official has said. The Argentine striker, 28, and the pilot were on board the plane which lost contact off Alderney in the Channel Islands on Monday night. Chief Officer of Channel Islands Air Search, John Fitzgerald, said even the most fit person would only last a few hours in the water. Mr. Fitzgerald said, "Sadly, I really don't think personally there is any hope." According to Mr. Fitzgerald, he said that at this time of the year, the conditions out there are pretty horrendous if you are actually in the water. Salah reportedly sent a WhatsApp voice message to family saying he was so scared. Salah was heading to the Welsh capital after signing for the Bluebirds from French club Nantes in a £15 million deal. In cricket, play was halted because of the sun in Napier as India cruised to victory over New Zealand in the first of 5-match one-day international series. The setting sun at McLean Park was shining in the batsman's eyes and the umpires stopped play with the tourists 44-1 as they chased 158 to win. There was a delay of about half an hour before play resumed. India's target was reduced to 156 from 49 overs and they easily reached it with Shikhar Dhawan unbeaten on 75. The Kiwis were undone by their batting display, which saw captain Kane Williamson top score with 64. Dhawan steered his side to victory with the help of captain Virat Kohli, who made 45. The next match will be on Saturday, January 26th in Tauranga. Summarized scores were as follows: New Zealand 157, Williamson 64, Shami 3 for 19, Yadav 4 for 39. India 156 for 2, Dhawan 75, Kohli 45. India won by 8 wickets, DLS method. In tennis, Serena Williams says she did not choke after missing 4 match points as Czech 7th seed Karolina Pliskova won the final 6 games to win a dramatic Australian Open quarter-final. The 37-year-old American, going for a record-equaling 24th Grand Slam singles title, led 5-1 in the decider but lost 6-4, 4-6, 7-5 in Melbourne. Former world number 1 Pliskova will meet Japan's 4th seed Naomi Osaka in the last 4 on Thursday, with 8th seed Petra Kvitova taking on unseeded American Danielle Collins in the other semi-final. Williams, seeded 16th, played down an ankle injury which she suffered during the rally on her first match point when serving at 5-1, 40-30. The 7-time Australian Open champion did not win another point on serve after the incident. And lastly, for sports, in athletics, the Russian anti-doping agency WASADA remains compliant and will face no punishment for delaying access for the World Anti-Doping Agency WADA to data from its Moscow lab, WADA has said. WADA's inspection team had been denied access after WASADA was set a December 31st deadline to comply, but eventually gained access on January 10, 2019. The visit was a condition of WASADA's reinstatement in September 2018. President Sir Craig Reedy said very significant progress had been made. Reedy said WADA would now move on to the second phase, authenticating the data collected. If the data retrieved from the laboratory was found not to be authentic or to have been tampered with, WADA would propose serious consequences, said the chairman of its Compliance Review Committee, Jonathan Taylor QC. And that's it for sports. The weather is next. Welcome back. The weather tonight will be fair to partly cloudy with a 40% or a moderate chance of showers. The weather tomorrow will be partly sunny and breezy with a 40% or a moderate chance of showers. The winds are easterly at 22 to 37 kilometers per hour or 12 to 20 knots with higher gusts particularly along coastal areas and open waters. The seas are 1.8 to 2.4 meters or 6 to 8 feet. However, a gradual increase to 2.8 meters or 9 feet by tomorrow is expected, thus a small craft advisory is in effect. Additionally, northerly swells of 1.8 meters or 6 feet are likely to make near-shore conditions hazardous, thus high surf advisory is also in effect and beachgoers are asked to avoid the north-facing coastal areas. The sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:44 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, 23rd January 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, Vaughan Radio's manager honored by Hearts and Hands Nevis Inc. for dedicated service to the island, and Omak's Bai murder trial over death of businessman begins. Regionally, 4 dead ahead of mass Venezuela protest. Internationally, Thailand announces date for first general election since 2014 coup. And in sports, no hope for finding missing Cardiff City player Emiliano Salah. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Jarvis Brown wishing you a pleasant evening.